Secretary of State Jenna Griswold.
The team in Mesa County.
Hey, gang. 99.1 WTJY. The Tan Talk Network will be joining us in a couple of minutes. I think the other guys are joining us right now.
Wake up, goddammit!
Time to go. Endorsements today. A bunch of other town hall that I think went well. Or not, no. Fox interview. What was this week? Whatever was this week. The CNN town hall in lieu of the debate that somebody pushed out on. Somebody else did something with it, and then he did his Fox staged thing. My dad and I just came from breakfast. My dad just got in today. I got up early, got him from the airport. On the way back, we stopped at breakfast. I just got in. So that I'm on the air with most everything. I think everything's running. Yeah, I'm looking at, there's one social media platform that needs to be reconnected, and it's not one that's very popular, so they'll find us elsewhere. YurgsRadio.com is one place you can do that. But I just came from an amazing steak and eggs breakfast. I got to pull this out of my pocket so I don't forget to do it. Sunny Side Up in Hudson, Florida. Oh my God. Jesus. $10. Filet mignon and eggs. I hear a woman's voice. $10 steak and eggs. I know this guy's going to love it. Let's bring out, dude. Hey. Oh, he's frozen again. Matt, can you hear me?
I'm frozen?
You were. Now you're back.
Oh, well, hi.
Hey, man. We're counting down. Week and a half.
Week and a half. Absolutely. Steak and eggs.
Be here. Where's
eggs
he
and
at?
steak.
Yeah. Oh, my God. You got to come visit.
For steak and eggs? You know we have those here in Ohio.
Not like this.
You know, probably the eggs and the steak all came from. No, you guys have a lot of cattle down there in Florida, actually.
Yeah, we do.
I don't know. How's your poultry situation? Is it poultry? Is it poultry?
I don't know what the big
poultry
other than oranges.
Is that the same word? I don't even know. That's weird.
Poultry's chicken.
No, I mean I know poultry's chicken. I'm just saying, like, you know how there's the word that says a poultry. Like, is it what? I don't think I've ever spelled it. Anyway, maybe I'm confusing words. I'm sick. Just leave me alone.
You know what? I got somebody yelling outside. Start telling about, political races. I'll be right back. I got to run right outside this garage door that's right here.
Oh, so you're just handing it off to me. Where's Blake? So apparently I'm feeling the dead air right now. and we're going to be talking about different political races coming up over here in the great United States. There's some close ones. There's some ones that are going to be run away, but we will be going into that endorsements, different commentary about politics, maybe even some other stuff. If we got stop talking about steak and eggs. Thank you, WTAN. We are here with WTAN, and we will be talking about the upcoming election, November 5th. We have Ross, Mastiff Media, Yergers over here. My name is Matt, and Blake should be joining us here shortly. First thing I really want to talk about is Texas. Texas is an interesting one because what you see in Texas is Texas has very much a Republican / red stronghold in it, but it is slowly turning blue. Yet we have a race for Senate. We have Allard and Ted Cruz going at it. We found out that Chuck Schumer is donating to many contested races around the United States. And I'll pull that up in 1 second. Actually, let me go talk to Jurgs to see if he can't bring this up in a little bit, because I think this is very interesting. Jurgs, I'm on a roll. Just let me cook, baby. Let me cook.
Keep going.
But we're talking about the races over in Texas. Is that Chuck Schumer? He put in a lot of money in different contested races all around the United States. Yet he only gave let's see here, $60,000 to Allard in Texas. Here, I'm sending you something so you can put it up on the screen. Here you go. It is in our chat, sir.
Got it.
And then once you put it on the screen, I'll read it to everybody.
I think you put it in the Facebook chat. But
yeah, I did put it in the Facebook chat. I don't even know if we could use this thing to put.
Yeah. And now I got puppies playing behind me. This is the hell that's my life. Oh, we lost Matt. Well,
I'm here, fellas.
Who's that?
Blake.
That you?
It's me.
There's Matt again. Let me see if we can bring him back in.
There we go. Sorry, you said when you said where did you put it, and I tried to put it into the chat in this app, and it didn't work. Right. Am I frozen again now?
No, but we can hear you. Possibly
we can hear you though.
Oh, is Blake here now?
I'm here now.
Oh wow, look at this. Anyway, just talking about Texas, I think Texas is very interesting because, first of all, it is a red state. Yet there is a very close or presumably close race in the Senate. Yet Chuck Schumer is not even putting money into this. I mean, so he's putting a lot of money into, say, Sherrod Brown's campaign over in Ohio, which is probably the most contested and the most expensive race in history, which is absolutely sickening, but whatever. But also there's $4.5 million going to Nevada, 4.3 going to Wisconsin, 3.6 going to Michigan, 2.8 going to Montana, 2.3 going to Arizona, $2 million going to Maryland, and only $60,000 going to Texas in that Senate race, which probably tells you that it's not going to be close. And Cruz is going to win. But
especially look at Arizona. The Democrat is way up right now, and he gave $2.3 million to the guy in Arizona. That's way up. So
is that Kelly?
Yeah. So I mean, to me, it's pretty obvious that like he does not believe that there's a shot.
And that's Gallego versus Kerry Lake. Am I correct with that?
I think so.
Okay, excellent. So I think
Arizona, isn't that Kelly, or is he not running for re-election right now?
No, yeah, he's not running for re-election.
Yeah, no, he's not. Okay. He's I think that's 2 years from now.
Okay.
So anyway, I think this is very interesting considering that we have.
No, he was never leading.
He was leading last week.
Sorry, I gotta grab a tissue 1 second.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yeah.
All right, because I'm just wondering. Can you even see me? I don't, because my video is frozen again. I hate this damn restream BS.
It's always you.
It's always me.
Yeah.
It's always me. Everything was
Sorry.
working fine for a minute. Oh, Blake, you're sick too.
Oh no, I had surgery yesterday, guys.
What are you talking about?
What'd you do?
I had sinus surgery yesterday,
Oh wow.
which is why my camera's not on because it looks like I got hit by Mike Tyson.
Did you get a nose job?
Yeah, basically. Inside of the nose job. Yeah, I had a deviated septum and a bunch of polyps and stuff up there. So they cleaned me out really good yesterday. So I am recovering, not on camera, but yeah, I wanted to hop on because.
Oh, I have a deviated septum too. I mean, maybe I should get that done. Is it good, nice? Does it?
Well,
Do you feel
not
good?
yet. We'll see. I mean, it takes a little bit of recovery. Right now, I can't breathe at all through my nose, which is why I sound like this. But
Oh, that sucks.
oh, it's fine. I mean, like I said, he says I think you will be surprised at how much better you're going to feel after this. So we'll
Really?
see. Yeah.
I've known people to have had that surgery or not necessarily the actual surgery you've had. I don't know what you had, but for the same cause.
Yeah.
And it made it worse.
Yeah, and it can. I think there some sinus surgeries. My guy is really good. Actually, a friend of my wife's friend she grew up with, or actually her husband. So he's like he's like I was the first doctor at this hospital that could do this kind of surgery. So they didn't have a great sinus surgery program before that. That sounds kind of cocky or whatever, but he's just like they just didn't have someone that was. They've come a long way in that kind of in the schooling and stuff of it. So I think it used to be a little riskier. My wife's had it and it helped her a lot. So I was for it.
Nice.
I actually didn't even go to check out my sinuses. I went to I thought I hurt my voice last year at this concert. So I actually went to have him look at that to see, hey, do I need to like go to a specialist or anything? And he couldn't get the scope up my nose. And he was like, yeah, well, you got a deviated septum too. And then I got a sinus infection. He did a CT scan. He was like, you should really do surgery, dude. So
Wow.
take your doctor's advice. It's a good idea sometimes.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it. Wait. So going back to Texas, we did enough
Yeah.
surgery, but going
Yeah.
back to Texas, I think it's interesting that we have
There were a bunch of people in like a staff meeting that they saw this, what you're showing here, and they go,
Why do I keep getting cut off?
"Are you here?"
You froze a little bit. Yeah.
I wanted to jump
Maybe
in.
just turn your video off. Yeah. Because I can hear you fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But people were actually, what's the word I want to use? People were actually confused. Like they thought Texas was getting 6 million. And okay, it's not 6 million. They're getting 600,000. No. They were floored to see that only $60,000.
Yeah, and like this is what I said like a long time ago too, was because I don't know why. And Schumer's obviously doing the right thing here, but there's still been a ton of money dumped into Texas. There really hasn't been that much money dumped into Nebraska and Florida as much as some of the kind of reports were showing. It looks like I think that we've kind of there were basically you were right. There was one outlier poll that everyone got really excited for in Texas, but it was an outlier. It was only one poll, and it was a small sample.
But here's my point about all that. And I just listened to another show on the way to and from the airport. I got my dad at the airport today. He's going to help me do some of the reconstruction stuff. And let's see if we take that off and maybe when he comes back. Oh, I'm the only one on camera now. That sucks.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I look terrible. We're right, but like here's the problem.
And the guy was saying about polls and why you don't listen to polls. And I've been saying this. I wish people would start listening to me. They take the survey from a demographic of people that they have a slight clue as to who they are. So they know what the answer is going to be.
Yes and no, but you guys, there's a huge difference between the polls we see in the public and the polls that someone like Kamala Harris's campaign has. They're spending, hundreds of millions of dollars. They're spending tens, scores, hundreds of millions of dollars on polling, and like the presidential campaigns and these Senate campaigns and these really hotly contested ones. They're getting way better polling than like the New York Times is doing. And I'm not saying New York Times is bad,
100%.
but New York Times is spending $10 million this year. What?
It's not what's being shared. And
right, but that does. My point is that's why you look at what the campaigns are doing, and it really shows you. Like, look at what Chuck Schumer's PAC is doing, and it really shows you what's important to them and what they think is going on. And they obviously don't have any data that says they should be spending money in Texas. And The problem is Democrats keep doing this. They've spent something like $300 million in it's more than that maybe in Texas just in 2 Senate races, and for what? Like they have to win
Here's the
Montana or
thing.
they lose the Senate.
When what's his name, Trump won in 16, were we expecting him to win?
No, but it was within the margin of error, and the polls internally did tell them that
Yes
Michigan
or no?
was in
It's
trouble.
an essay question.
Yeah.
We were expecting him to win. No,
We were not, but Hillary Clinton's campaign was,
they knew it was
and
going to
so was Trump's. The week before the campaign, they both
right
was
because
first.
they take those polls that you're talking about, and that's why the story I keep telling about how I met John Bon Jovi,
Yeah.
and it sucked because he was in a pissed off mood. It was because he just came out of a meeting with John Kerry, and he just realized he put hundreds of thousands of dollars into the Kerry campaign for nothing.
Yeah.
Because a week and a half before the election, they already knew they were going to lose because they took better, more accurate polls on the ground in each state, compared that total to doubt, et cetera, and they could see the writing on the wall.
Right, but the campaigns are never going to share that. They don't want to share that's gold to them.
No, of course they're not going to share that.
Yeah, they're never going to share that unless now sometimes they leak little things and stuff. But you can tell by their movement what worries them, and you can tell like right now the Democrats are worried. Like Kamala Harris's campaign is more worried than Trump's is right now.
I don't agree with that.
I think you look at the actions. I think she does look more worried. I think it's still a coin flip. I'm not saying she's losing for sure, but I can tell they feel more worried about Pennsylvania and the blue wall holding than Trump does right now. And we've kind of flipped the vibes of these campaigns the last week or so. Now, I think that could make Donald Trump too cocky, and I think it'd be better to be cautious. I think that makes more sense to me. But
So the question I've been trying to ask this whole time is then if they're so worried, then why is Kamala putting any time into a state that she's going to lose? She's in Texas today.
Right. I think that's a bad move no matter what, because that's not, I mean, everything's a coin flip. I mean, there's nothing that, like I said, we can only see the external polls, obviously, but it's heard the vibe of the campaign, like continuing to do town halls, the scene in town hall. I don't know if you guys watched that. I tried
to, but this is what I don't get about that town hall. It was on CNN for anybody who has cable, and it was on their app for anybody who pays for the app.
Yeah.
How is that reaching anybody?
Well, I tend to agree.
That out like some of the others did, and in one case, Brian Tyler Cohen.
Well, you can watch it. You can watch it on YouTube too.
I tried. I couldn't find it.
Oh, you couldn't? Okay. I don't know. Maybe they didn't. I don't know.
I thought BTC, Bitcoin man himself, Brian Tyler Cohen, would be able to be streaming it too. Nobody was.
Well, yeah, I mean that would be interesting because obviously it is a plea to undecided voters. The whole crowd at the town hall was undecided voters, but she didn't do herself a lot of favors there. And even on CNN, who is not exactly unfriendly to Democrats, I would not say, their panel afterwards was kind of like, yeah, that's pretty underwhelming. And so if you've got Van Jones and why am I drawing a blank on Obama's campaign guy that I'm just why am I? This is so stupid that I can't remember his name.
Axelrod? I don't know who
Axelrod. Axelrod was like, if her job was to go out there and show independent voters who she is, she didn't do it. She just kept going back to the same talking point. She's not very good at.
And CNN isn't a place for independent voters anyway.
Well, but
I mean, none of this is going to the really crux of the issue of what we're talking about when it comes to polling. Why is she in Texas?
I agree. I don't think she should be in Texas at all because there's no reason. It's if she loses
unless she's
this
confident.
race. Yeah, but I mean, she doesn't look confident to me. Doing that town hall didn't seem confident. The way she was answering the questions so carefully still doesn't make me feel like she's confident. Trump serving French fries at McDonald's looks a lot more confident. I'm not saying it's true or not.
Oh, come on.
And look, I'm telling you, it was a good look for him. It worked. I'm not saying
it was
I like
a good look
Donald
for him
Trump.
because it was a job he can handle.
Right, I agree with that. But
geez.
like the point is,
Yergs,
it was a good campaign photo op. It is a good campaign photo op, and the Democrats are pulling their hair out about it because Kamala can't do something like that. The McDonald's thing actually was probably seen, to Matt's point, by more people that are going to decide this election than
100%.
Kamala's town hall. And you can't
100%.
manufacture that, even though they did manufacture it. Like, Kamala can't do it. Her campaign can't do it. I think her campaign's done a pretty good job. She's just not a great candidate at this kind of thing. And when people don't trust her, and by the way, the kind of people that we're talking about that are going to decide this election are not people that listen to podcasts. They're not people that read the news. They're not people that watch the news. Everything they're learning about this campaign is trickling down to them via the zeitgeist. It's coming in via like funny memes on Instagram, or it's like someone at lunch tells them, or at the office, water cooler.
And ask probably the only intelligent question that anybody's asked yet. How do you support a guy who is essentially, at least civilly, been convicted of rape?
Yeah, I mean, I agree, but they don't know that.
Let me finish it. We're not done. Who's about to be tried for treason? That's not out yet. We didn't even talk about that yet. We got nothing to talk about yet. But I promise you that's next.
Not if he becomes president.
And yeah, exactly.
I'm just saying.
And when 300 prominent Republicans step forward and say, this guy's bad. He's not a bad candidate. He's a bad person. He's a bad leader. He's a horrible president. He's a danger. How does that not just make everybody jump out of their chair and say, the Democrats found somebody else at the last minute. Why can't we?
They don't know that, Yergs. These low propensity voters that are
No. I'm talking about the powers that be.
Well, yeah,
I'm talking about the people who are supporting him.
I get that, Yergs. I feel that way too.
A year ago, that the people who need our help now, who are still following Donald Trump, are the people you're talking about. The people who aren't too bright.
Right, but they're not the people that are going to swing this election, is what I'm saying. The people that are going to win or lose this election.
From Outrage Overload said that no, the people that are really digging their heels in behind this guy, that are giving him this 50+% to begin with, are actually the intellectuals who fancy themselves so smart they can't be wrong about their choice. So they dig their heels in even deeper.
I do not think that 50% of this country is
they're smarter. They're more knowledgeable.
No, they're not.
I disagree. I disagree with everything that's being said here. You can't generalize a population of 340 million of who's doing what and whatever.
You can generalize. You can generalize 340 million divided by 2.
No, you can't. Look, Yergs, you can. I will give you this. You can absolutely.
Well, then fine. To answer the question,
listen to me. I am
time on my own radio station and my own show that nobody's been able to answer.
I'll answer it right now.
What is the appeal of Donald Trump?
I can tell you lots of appeals.
Long list.
There's lots of appeals.
I just put up another post.
The thing is,
Ed Krasenstein, who's got 60 reasons not to vote for Donald Trump.
Yeah. So here's
true. They're all fact checked. You can't find 60 seconds not to vote for Kamala Harris with anything close to that level.
Yergs, let me answer. I promise you, I live in this world, and so do you, and so like we're Oklahoma and Florida, very red states. I know a lot. First of all, I think
have you guys been to Ohio? Why are you leaving me out?
Well, I mean, Ohio is more recently red. I mean, we did not have a county.
Hey, that's ageist. You know what? You're canceled. Get out of here.
We did not have a county go for a Democrat in the last 2 elections. So
wow, that's impressive.
3 maybe, not a county.
We had 3.
But you only have 3 counties, Blake.
No, we got 77. So
3 counties at least: Hillsborough, Pinellas, and I think one of the Miami areas.
Yeah, Miami-Dade probably went for it. So here's the thing. So if you voted for Trump in the primary, I tend to agree, because those are, primary voters are a little different, and I think that there is a degree of there's no way you didn't choose this. Like, you had other options. You could get conservative values without the Trumpy stuff. So you obviously like him. Like, I think if you voted for him in the primary, you obviously prefer Donald Trump with all warts is not a good enough word to say, warts and all, but all accusations of sexual assault and all the like. Not to mention trying to steal an election in 2020. Although a lot of Republicans don't believe he tried to steal an election in 2020
And
incorrectly.
that's
So,
ignorance.
right, but here's the thing. I will say, the right wing media bubble is very, very impenetrable for a lot of these people. I sat down. I was in New York on for spring break this past year, so in March, and I got to talk to this couple. We were at Italy, which is this great place, and so we're talking, and we start talking about politics, and he's the rarity as a Republican from New Jersey. That's not normal, right? So we're talking about stuff, and everything I bring up, that's like, well, what about this, and what about this happened? And I mean, like, they always pivot to some other thing because they've never been confronted with any like, they don't know that Fox News settled a $753 million lawsuit with Dominion voting machines. They don't know that True the Vote had to admit in court in Georgia that they have no evidence that there was any stolen election data, because they just hear the conspiracy and never the follow-up. They didn't hear that Dinesh D'Souza's 2000 Mules documentary got pulled and they had to apologize because they got sued for defamation,
Right.
and had to settle that case. They've never heard any of these things. And the reason I know they've never heard it is because every time I have a conversation with a one-to-one conversation with someone about this, and I talked to a lady for 4 hours on my podcast one time, arguing about January 6th and all the conspiracies and everything. And she had never heard any of the things I brought up. And she claims she had never heard that people were chanting, "Hang Mike Pence." She claimed that she never saw the gallows. Right, but my point is, they don't show that on Newsmax. They don't show the gallows on Newsmax. They didn't show people chanting "Hang Mike Pence." They showed people just kind of casually walking through the lobby of the Capitol. They don't show this kind of stuff. Like, that's the filter bubble is incredible. Fox News ran a last year, Tucker Carlson, right before he was fired, or was that 2 years ago or whatever, the Patriot Purge thing, which tried to like completely whitewash the whole thing. It was a lunacy, and that was on the most popular news channel for conservatives. So the truth is, most people haven't heard this stuff. Most people have not heard that John Kelly has said the things that he said about Donald Trump, because they believe if it comes from, so like, here's the thing. There is an excuse for regular people because they're being lied to all the time. There is no excuse for people like our senators, governors, people that are asked that are Chris Sununu on CNN or Fox, that's going to try to like pivot that and say,
I almost reached through the television and choked that son of a bitch.
Yeah, but I mean, like, here's the thing. It's like, that's the problem. And the people that are going to decide this election they're not even watching Fox News. So they haven't even heard, they don't know anything. They're the people that are going to decide this, it's 12,000 votes in Georgia, 80,000 in Pennsylvania. This is going to be even tighter than probably the 2020 race if the polls are correct, which, that's a caveat. They might not be. Really, right now, I think the race can be either way.
There's something Matt said last week or the week before that he's actually wrong about.
That's not possible, Yergs.
Yeah,
that is absolutely not possible.
You said
go ahead, try
that yard signs, are not a thing anymore, essentially, and I'm paraphrasing, but that it's not something campaigns are focusing on. I went to KamalaHarris.com, and that was literally one of the first things that popped up in the merch store.
Yeah, because it's a fundraising tool.
Right, exactly. And my point about that is, as Blake said, we all live in some semblance of Trump country.
Yeah.
My dad arrived here this morning. I picked him up at Clearwater Airport. We get into our county, which is more Trump-oriented because Clearwater's in Pinellas. But even back when I was here in 2021, it was very Trump this, Trump Pence, Trump this, whatever. And I told him, I said, there aren't any Trump signs around anymore. And he looks around and he goes, you know what, you're right. I don't see anything. I said, Dad, when I was here in 2021, a year after the election, there were still signs all over the place, even in Pinellas and Hillsborough County. And I don't mean the 18 by 24 inch yard signs that cost you $20. I mean the 8 by 12 feet on the side of people's houses.
Yeah.
At the edge of farmers' fields along a highway.
Yeah, and I've seen a lot less of it too.
Nothing like that here.
I think same thing here, and the very small part of Florida that I go to, I think it's dwindled every year since 2020. There was certainly a lot less of it this time than the last time I was there. So I agree, but I don't
You
think that.
do
I think
think
that,
that's people speaking out?
I think no. I think those people are still voting for him. They're just not as they understand that he's a bad guy now, and they understand that he's flawed, but they still think that's better than Kamala Harris. And
That's
honestly, here's the
crazy.
thing. But I agree in some sense, but I also think that the Democrats, Biden can be blamed for all of this. Biden could have stepped down 2 years ago. You could have had a real primary. You could get a good candidate. We honestly, if Biden would have stepped down in 2022, here's my can't ever prove it, can't disprove it kind of thing because it's
I know what you're
alternate
going to say,
history.
and I agree with it.
But
Oh,
if Biden steps down 2 years ago, if he goes, look, we did better in the 22 midterms. I did what I said I'm going to do. I'm not Donald Trump, and it's time for me to really be the bridge to the next generation. And said, let's have it. I'm not going to run again. Donald Trump would not be the nominee, and neither would Kamala Harris. That's
I
the
agree.
truth. And I would say prove to me. And now Donald Trump could maybe still be. Maybe Republicans are that scared of whatever. But like to me, if they saw that like a Josh Shapiro, a Gretchen Whitmer, or someone that could actually mop the floor with Donald Trump, an actual good politician, well, I mean, maybe Nikki Haley or Ron DeSantis look a little better, or Chris Christie, and
Not Ron
maybe.
DeSantis.
Well, I'm saying realistically, I'm saying they look
Yeah.
at those people. I realize you don't like Ron DeSantis, but I'm saying maybe Republican voters have a different. But they were looking at Biden, and they were like, yeah, well, Trump can beat Biden. They both pick nominees that the only person they could beat is the other person. it's really kind of crazy. So I think
That's the one spot I disagree with you. If Biden was still in, I know it would be just as ugly as what it is now. I still think he would have won.
Trump would be absolutely spanking Biden. Go. I mean,
Don't
I know
stop looking at the polls.
no, but then why did they force him out? Why did they force him out if he was doing so well?
Because they looked at the polls.
I
This
think
is
they've
hard.
got good polls, but you just admitted they've got better polls. Their campaign polls are telling them the same thing. Dude, when 60% of Democrats polled say he's too old to run again, that's bad. That's not
So
good.
then how
And
is
that's an
that
issue.
not a thing with Republicans?
Because when you
He
turn
spends 15 minutes, 15, 20, what was it, 17 minutes, something like that, dancing on
I know.
stage
I know.
and talking about Arnold Palmer's dick.
That didn't happen, which by the way, that's what I said in our group chat. I now know that's my favorite drink. Makes sense now. And it also makes sense why the
That should be
Arizona
my favorite drink.
iced tea cans are so big. I mean, are those life size? I was like trying to figure out, can I make that meme? Well, no, look, I think that you're right, but that wasn't watched by 80 million people. That's the difference. And honestly, for some reason, Trump gets away with doing stupid stuff like that, and it gets waved away. And you're right. There's a bunch of people that are lying for him, and carrying his lies and stuff like that. I agree. I mean, obviously, that's why my thing's called the homeless conservative. I've always not liked Donald Trump. I don't think he's conservative. I don't think he's disloyal to everyone.
Let me fix your. I was thinking about that today too. I get where you're coming from when you say homeless conservative. You're right, because unfortunately, the Republican Party ain't what it used to be.
Oh, right now it's just Trump's party. I mean, it's not. There's
Exactly,
no. Yeah,
and
no.
that's my point. You're not so much homeless as it is you're in a really dysfunctional family. And
Yeah, I mean that's probably
you
more fair
are
since I still am a Republican
still a Republican,
currently.
right?
Yeah,
Liz Cheney, Adam Kinzinger, Dick Cheney. I never thought I would ever see one Cheney ever support a Democrat, let alone two in the same election.
yeah. I mean, and
While
John,
Dick was still alive.
it's also pretty funny to hear Republicans who are supposed to be the pro-military people try to discredit a 4-star general, Gold Star dad, who
know
was the
John
chief of
Kelly.
staff. You know what I mean? Like
I'm
that's who
probably
they're.
one Secret Service agent ever to have heard the words from that man, call me John.
Yeah, so I mean, like to me,
Doubt he's ever said anything.
To me, for Republicans to not believe him and to have to try to figure out ways that they can say that he's the deep state or whatever is you're right. It's people trying to make themselves believe something, and that's why I think it's obvious that Kamala is shown. So going back to a sort of a point, that Matt was making, the polls are showing some of the polling. They're showing that it is working. people are not aware of that. John Kelly, his chief of staff, read the definition of fascism and said, I think he qualifies for that. I think he wants
I've
to do
been
his military.
saying that.
Here's all this stuff, right?
Will you people in the world please listen to me?
Right, but there's a
Eric-
lot of right, but I think John Kelly did it better than anyone I've heard do it.
100%.
And he communicated it well, and I think that most people aren't aware of that. Kamala Harris, obviously, if you look at that town hall, she obviously was told that you need to hammer that home because most people haven't heard this, and when they hear this, it does kind of the people we're talking about, the partisans. You're right; they're going to excuse it.
Ask Matt this. Yes, she needed to hammer that home,
but not when you get asked about Israel.
But I'm also hearing so many people say, and I think I know who this Eric R. is, but I don't want to say for sure. But so many people say they're sick of one mother effing the other, and nobody is really talking about issues.
Well, that's
Is
true.
Kamala be doing better about talking about what she really wants to do at the border, or with inflation in the economy and so on? Or is that really not resonating either?
I think she's given opportunity after opportunity to do so. And the town hall was another one last night where it's like Anderson Cooper asked her, so do you no longer think building a wall is stupid? And she won't answer the question. And she should have just said yes.
Yeah.
And because that's what people want to hear. And she couldn't hedge at all on. There's all sorts of questions last night where she just pivoted and tried to word salad. And like I said, when Axelrod afterward and Van Jones and these people that are very much allies of her, obviously, and want to see her do well, don't want to see Trump, are going like, she didn't do it. Like, she's given the opportunity over and over again to answer these simple questions and do these things that people like. Look, you were wrong. Just admit you were wrong about the border.
That was supposed to be a question for Matt. I think we got to have an operation on Blake's ear.
Sorry.
Well, what's the question? There's a lot of stuff going on in that chat.
There's a lot of back and forth, campaign to campaign, talking down about the other. And a lot of the things I'm hearing on like social media and other shows and so on, as I do my homework for this, that nobody is really talking about the issues. I think Kamala has at least given the good old-fashioned college try. But I agree there's certain things that she could be doing better. As our resident Democrat, also running a campaign right now, what say you?
I say that I think we just have to pull back a little bit and talk about two different things. Number one is Kamala has look, and as I'm running as a Democrat, I don't want this to sound negative toward our candidate, but she has tried to always play both sides of every issue. And I think a lot of people want her just to take a stand and an opinion on something that says, hey, like, for example, you just talked about the border. And if she thinks that the wall is a stupid idea, say it's a dumb idea. And if there's going to get backlash, take the backlash, but you have a point. Just go it and stay it. But she's really trying to, it's not even thread a needle, but appease to too many people because, she's worried about losing this 1-2% of votes here and there. When it comes to issues, though, running a campaign, and one thing I've done on the trail, and I've taken a different stance is when people ask you, and they just ask you generally, what do you believe? And what are you running on? And you tell them, and then they don't hear the issue that they wanted to hear. Then you're not talking about the issues. And
Right.
so my whole thing is so what issue is important to you, and what do you want to, and let me talk about that. And the problem is when you try to address issues on a campaign trail, is everybody has their issues. If you say border and you don't say go round them all up because that's what Trump's saying, then you've lost all those people. Or if you don't say let everybody in, then you lost all those people. So it's almost very hard that you don't say the exact thing of what you're doing. So it's almost like, again, she's not taking a stance, and that's an issue. But at the same time, there's a lot of people with specific, very niche issues that are important to them that they're saying, well, she's not talking about the issues. Well, what's your issue then? Oh, it's the Great Lakes in the water purification over here in the Great Lakes. Well, I would love her to talk about algae in the Great Lakes,
but states don't care about that.
Exactly. So it's really hard, in my opinion, and I think that it for running for president is even harder as well. So
Okay, I've got a question for you guys. What do you think she could do to seal the deal? Do you think there is a campaign thing she's not doing? Do you think there's something she's doing that she shouldn't do? Because I have something in mind, but she's so far been unwilling to do it.
I think she needs to be like we all talked about, and I think that's I'm hearing that seems to be a consensus amongst the three of us that her answers need to be more concise, definitive, and in some cases even
exactly.
separating. Like she's gonna lose some favor because of an answer, but other people are gonna see, you know what, I don't like that answer, but finally somebody stepped up and made a decision.
Yeah.
Let's talk. Let's just look at what Trump has done, and I'm not. And again, I'm not voting for Trump, but
that's the only advertisement you're going to see about him right now is how deadly the trans community is.
But no, just give me a second. Let me give me a second. When it came to border security, what did he say? And I'm not saying that you like these policies, but he has given you a policy. When you said border security, he said build a wall and let's go round up the illegals. This is what he said, right? When it comes to China and trade, he said tariffs.
When it comes to basically everything.
When it came to tips or taxing tips, he said, I'm not going to tax tips. You don't need to. Everybody can have their own armchair quarterback about policy, which is what's going to happen. But the fact is, he came out and said, "This is the policy I'm going to go with," and you call him on it. And you know what? Some people think that's really refreshing. Again, not supporting it, but I am looking at it as somebody's like, "I'm trying to make a decision here," and at least you said that something.
And here's the thing. Here's the one thing I think she could do right now that would maybe win her the election is why is she not thrown Joe Biden under the bus?
She did a little bit.
No, but like all the way under the bus.
Her campaign is not going to be a continuation of his.
But like she got offered softballs on The View and Colbert and like could not say one single thing she would have done differently. And that's the problem. People don't like Biden. People have not been happy with the Biden administration. He's been in the tank since the withdrawal of Afghanistan in the approval polling. He never recovered from it. And everything's been, people feel like they've been lied to by the Biden administration. They feel like, oh, inflation is just going to be temporary. It's going to be, it's not going to be helicopters taking off from the top of the embassy. Everything they've been told by the Biden administration went a different way. And she will not go. What the answer should have been, if I'm in that town hall, if I have Kamala's ear and I care about this, if I'm getting paid by her to advise her, I'd say the answer to the question, do you think it's stupid now? I think you'd be like, yeah, I think my boss, Joe Biden, did some things at the border that caused more problems than good and let too many people into this country. And we learned from that mistake. And I'm not gonna make that mistake that he did. I think that's the answer that you have to give because people are pissed about the border and it happened under their watch. And you either have to fess up to it, but she doesn't have to fess up to it. But she gets to go, guess what, guys? I'm not in charge. He was. Honestly, I think the best thing she could have done in June.
Shapiro say that today.
The best thing she could have done on June 28th is invoke the 25th Amendment. I mean, like that's throwing Biden under the bus to be like, he's not qualified to do this job right now. And because I care about this country, I'll be the president right now and run for president. I'm just saying, like, she has lots of ways. In fact, her only constitutional duty is to invoke the 25th Amendment. That's pretty much it. So, and I think I truly do believe Joe Biden should not be the president right now. I do not think he's cognitively able to be the president. I think she should be right now.
Let me, yes or no. I served my country at a federal level for more than 21 years. I am not the same person that I was on July 17th, 2000. Joe Biden has been doing that on that same level, federal, at a much more intense level of responsibility for his entire career since I've been alive.
Yeah, but he's too old to do it.
And yeah, no argument there. But what everybody wants to throw him in front of the bus and say he's the one at fault, and why are every single remotely decent political scientist ranking him as the 14th best president in history?
That's political bullshit.
No, it's not. These people.
That's my first curse
know
on
some of
the
them.
radio.
I studied under one of them.
Okay, I don't find that he's not popular. People don't like him.
Guys,
So, I mean,
It's about popularity.
hey guys, when we break our top 10 sci-fi movies, we're all gonna have different ones.
Yeah.
Best sports cars of all time.
right? Yeah,
My point is,
exactly.
one of the guys that's a part of that survey, of that ranking system, gave Ronald Reagan a D.
Well, I think that's ridiculous. Just look at
and
what the economy did under Reagan and under him.
All of the colleagues wanted to lynch him until they read his reasons why. Reagan is very popular, but no political scientist will actually agree that he was ever actually really good. He was a great speaker. Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall, is one of my favorite speeches ever.
This stuff is subjective, though.
But
Matt
I've
Bright.
watched 2 small family farms with lineage as young as I am close during the Reagan administration, just like other small businesses are closing under Trump. I made figures during the Trump administration in my final years in the Secret Service. I had a rent payment that was almost and is actually identical to my current mortgage payment. I didn't have a car payment either because I already owned my car. During the Trump administration, when I was an agent, I had a take-home car and a gas card. I don't have any of those things anymore. My utilities are comparable, yet I'm only grossing $72,000. And now, under the Biden administration, I'm saving money.
Yeah, but that's anecdotal. Most people don't feel that way about the Biden
It's
administration.
fact. Just
It's fact for
because
you, but it's
these
not fact for the
people
whole country.
can't manage a budget or balance a checkbook, that's not Joe Biden's fault.
Inflation has nothing to do with being able to balance a budget. Inflation was inflation because
Inflation's
Biden spent.
down.
It's not down. It's never inflation can't. It's the
Inflation
the rate of inflation has shrunk, but inflation has not gone down. It was way up, and it wouldn't have been as up as he hadn't spent as much money. And the problem is, I'm not saying you have to blame Biden for everything, but go back to 2004. George W. Bush had low approval ratings 2008. 2008, low approval ratings, and so there were lots of people that were like, "Hey, I don't really want to do a campaign event with you," and you know what? He goes, "That's fine. I don't care." Joe Biden's got too big of an ego to let like Kamala Harris throw him under the bus a little bit, which is why he's undermining her all the time. I think he's pretty petty about all this stuff, honestly. And if Trump's really the threat, if Trump's really the threat that everyone claims he is, which I agree, he's a threat. Biden needs to sacrifice himself for that. He hasn't so far done it in any sort of noble way because that's what she has to do. She has to be able to separate herself from Biden or she will not get elected. And so I think that's what she's got to do in the last couple of weeks. If she wants to win, is like she's got to separate herself from him with the border specifically and the economic stuff. She has to at least give some sort of word to what Biden did, what he had control over, caused those prices to rise too much and caused the problem at the border, and I will fix it. But I wasn't in charge. He's my boss. Like that's all you got to say, and you can even get together with him for him to try to help say, you know what, we made mistakes. I don't know.
Then why is it, if that's such a simple and easy?
Well, it's not simple and easy.
Sure, it is.
Well, I mean, I get why
if I say we're not getting enough listeners because Blake hogs the microphone, I'm going to say Blake hogs the microphone.
Yeah.
And you don't. You're doing a hell of a lot better than when we first started. We all are. But point being, if it's something that has to be done,
by
either Trump or Harris, if they are a good leader, if they are a remotely decent leader, they're going to do it like that.
Yeah, but I mean, a lot of her campaign staff is his campaign staff. She is his vice president still. I mean, it's very tricky, and he's got an ego on him.
3 more months.
He should be offering this. He shouldn't be making this a hard decision for her. He should be saying, hey, throw me under the bus. I'm who's unpopular. But he's not doing that. He's clearly trying to like cement his legacy. Well, I mean, what do you want? I don't know. This goes down to like he doesn't want his legacy to be the butt of the joke. And I get it.
It's already going to be fine. We got to take a break. We got 10 minutes left for some of our network affiliates. So I got to get some commercials in. 99.1 WDJY and the Tan Talk Network throughout Tampa Bay. It's the Mastiff Media Network, and up the middle. We'll be back after this as soon as I find the right thing. Again.
From iHeart Podcasts.
What the hell is going on in here?
Everyone has their limits.
I'd never confronted a situation like this.
The numbers were being inflated and lied about and conflated.
I just thought it was just a really terrible, immoral thing for him to do.
A line they won't cross.
I was stunned, and I just said to him, no.
We're killing people. What exactly are we doing here?
I remember him saying, in this 007 evil villain kind of way, this is the beginning of a process.
You may never have to face that decision. When you find yourself at that line,
Thoughts racing, hearts racing, emotions are all over the place.
They could be harassed, they could be imprisoned, they could be killed.
Somebody needs to just, for once, give everybody the whole truth.
I'm like, this is evil.
and the only person who can sound the alarm is you.
She folded it up, put it in her pantyhose, and walked out of the building.
Yeah, I really am the world's dumbest criminal.
These are the whistleblowers.
I wasn't just going to sit silently by.
I was told you take your questioning black self and get it on up out of my facility because you're trouble.
The message is, if you are disloyal, if you speak out, you will pay.
This is what it's like when the president decides he wants to destroy you.
Bad things are going to happen to him.
You're an anti-American. You are a
disgrace to our country. He's going to be prosecuted.
When power corrupts, conscience is the last line of defense.
Is it ever too late to do the right thing?
We talk about institutions, but they're really about individual people.
The responsibility drops in everybody's lap.
I'm Miles Taylor. The Whistleblowers premieres Thursday, July 13th on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Check out Miles Taylor and the Whistleblowers. I've referenced that plenty of times throughout Up the Middle, Both Sides Now, and Yerg's Tonight. He does an excellent job telling the stories of various people who blew the whistle on the Trump administration and their reasons why, personal and professional, as well as the consequences that these people paid to get the truth to the public. Check out the Whistleblowers on Apple, iHeart, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. The July date that he mentioned is from 2023, and season 1 is complete. It's excellent, and it's still very relevant, probably now more than ever. So I certainly recommend that you give it a look. See you again. So I got to tell you about this place. You get up to Hudson, where I'm at. Sunny Side Up Cafe. My dad and I stopped there very quickly on the way back from the airport. How much, I'm going to bring the guys back out so they can answer this question. How much would you pay for not only steak and eggs, but filet mignon and eggs, cooked the way you want it, correctly? Matt, what would you pay?
Does it have hash browns?
Whatever potatoes or grits you want, eggs, toast, and a good smashed down hockey puck, thick as a hockey puck, of filet mignon.
So about 4 ounces of filet. I would say where are we at?
That. Forget about that. How much?
Forget
would you
about
pay?
that.
Yep. Don't do the whole.
That's a wide range of the quality of meat and everything. I'm going to say anywhere from $17.99 to $23.99.
All right, that's market price, I think. Blake, what about you? Blake with us yet?
I don't think Blake's with us yet.
I think he went potty.
No, I just forgot to unmute. Sorry.
Thanks.
I think I'm inching closer to like 25, 30.
$9.99.
Dang.
and spot on, cooked perfectly. Eggs over light is what we both got. I just got because it was 10 after 10, and we had to eat and get back here. Less than 10 minutes later, 2 steaks come out, perfectly cooked. Eggs, and my dad always bitches about the eggs because he orders them over easy, over light, over this, over that, over the other thing. And it's kind of hard for some people that aren't a real chef.
Yeah, eggs can be tricky.
Over light, medium steaks. And he was worried about finishing it. My 73-year-old dad ain't eating as much as what he used to be, and neither do I. But we had no problem. Enjoyed every bite. That's at the Sunny Side Up Cafe, 14148 US Highway 19 in Hudson, right at 19 and Hudson Road. It's on the, let's say it would be the southeast corner in the Winn-Dixie, in that shopping center. Hudson Hardware, Regions Bank. You will not be disappointed. And I promised them I'd give them that freebie today during our listenership with Tan Talk and everybody else. 11:57, we're going to be saying goodbye to them in a little bit. Follow us back over on WWPR 1490 in Bradenton, or go to yergsradio.com. If you want to hear the second hour, we got our second, well, the second hour, we've got all of our endorsements, or whoever our pick is for a week and a half from now. Don't forget to join us next week. You guys know what next Friday is?
What?
Oh, Halloween. Wait, is it Halloween?
It's the day after Halloween.
Halloween's Thursday. Okay.
What is that holiday? The actual holiday.
Oh, November 1st? I don't know.
All Saints Day?
All Saints Day. And it's my birthday.
Oh, well, happy birthday.
We're going to get the birthday episode.
Wow.
People actually going to be calling into, you're going to be able to jump the bandwagon to bust my stones for 2 hours. There's a bunch of people from the political realm call in, and radio and broadcasting and so on call in and bust my chops for 2 hours on the Howard Stern style birthday episode. Yeah. So, and it's also obviously our last get together before Election Day.
Right.
There are some political people calling in.
Are you going live on Election Day?
I'm working with WTAN PR Atlanta. We're talking about that. I will be doing it. It's just a matter of if those stations can figure out the airtime.
I haven't decided what I'm going to do yet. I think I kind of want to do live, but I know we won't know that night. So I don't know. We'll see.
You should just join us. Join.
I mean,
Matt, what do you got? Because I know that's obviously a big night for you.
I'll be everywhere.
You'll be what?
I'll be everywhere.
Yeah, I figured. Well, call in and
I'll try. I'll try. If you guys are live, I'll try to call in from the road.
So we got to say goodbye to WTAN. We'll see them again next week, 11 a.m. every week on the Tan Talk Network, up the middle, with me, Blake, and Matt. And like I said, next week is the birthday episode, so tune in for that. Otherwise, we're over at Mastiff.media, and that's been checking out. So Mastiff.media and yergsradio.com. All right, in the next hour, as I also check in to make sure that everything's going well with our new station, WWPR, who signs on now. Start at the bottom. If you guys have any local races that you're following.
I mean, obviously over here is Sherrod Brown and Bernie Moreno.
Yeah. Ohio's got. We don't.
No, when I say local, I mean like not even state level.
Oh, well.
Like
Sheriff.
And
Sheriff is like the only interesting one around here. Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got a couple state house races here that I'm very much following.
Yeah. Okay. Go ahead.
Let's see here. Down in Medina County, it's OH 66, Ohio 66th district. See, Blake, we have 88 counties over here, so it's
You're a bigger state than we are.
I'm just pointing that out.
Yeah, that's fine. I know that
Ohio's bigger.
And we have no. Blake didn't take the bait on that one, but that's okay.
No, yeah.
But no, Ohio 66ers. Scott Quaid is running for State House over there, and I think he's running a great campaign. Medina it is a historically red county, and it's slowly moving. It's slowly moving to the left, going blue. I don't want to say left. It's just going blue. It's slowly, but so it's a very interesting race to watch, and the organization and the grassroots organization over there is very interesting to see and very exciting to see. And then there's a state senate race over here in Ohio's 24th state senate district that is a 50-50 toss up. So that's a very interesting race as well.
Nice. Blake, what about you? Tell us about the sheriff.
Oklahoma County Sheriff is it happens to be a guy I know that's running for one of the seats. So nothing terribly interesting. It's just I like the law enforcement stuff is interesting because I feel like it got a lot of post 20 George Floyd. I mean, even before that, you go back to the Missouri stuff, and like the only way to change police stuff is with that kind of good leadership. So some stuff needs to change, obviously. Some stuff doesn't. A lot of it got blown, I think, out of the water in some of these situations where we had people like defunding the police. There's just no one that you even poll the minorities that are affected by crime in these communities. They're like, no, we don't want the police to go away. So you gotta have that kind of leadership. So I think those kind of things are more important. We talk about crime all the time at the national level. We had all these big fights about Donald Trump gets fact checked by ABC, which ends up being wrong because the FBI changes their statistics afterwards, and crime has gone up. And it doesn't. My point was like, doesn't really matter if it's gone up or down. The president has very little control over that, but who does is your local legislators and local police. Like that's who has control over crime rates where you live. So those are just kind of the things that I think people should pay more attention to.
Yeah. So here locally, as you guys know, here for California or Florida, for me locally, as you guys know, we got hit by 2 major hurricanes within 2 weeks. And it's not that I'm not a Republican. I'm not a Republican. I'm not a Democrat. I'm just not for all of one or all of the other. I'm for a balance because that's really what I believe voters are. And it's also what I believe society and at large is, even in, Trump country where I live. There's plenty of people who do not like Trump on my street. And so one of the local county commissioners who really stepped up and was a guest on our show 2 weeks ago. When was that, Matt? Was that last week or the week before?
I can't remember. It was one of those two. I think it was last week.
Not too far away, not too long ago, is also scheduled to come back during the birthday show next week. Jack Mariano is running for re-election here in District 5 of Pasco County. And he stepped up. And like any local politician, there's a lot of things they do along the course of their career there that might grease their own pockets and help themselves out. It's called business. I really don't think there's anything super. I mean, unless, you're selling votes, but if you're using a connection, I'm not going to get all panties in a wad about that. This guy was running up and down my street with his own pickup truck, picking up discarded mattresses and box springs that they don't want in the rest of the debris because of how spongy a mattress and box spring are. It's a hazard being in the back of a dump truck. So they've asked us to separate that, and they would be picked up individually. There was whatever issue with contractors to do that. So he and the president of my local association used their own vehicles to do that at 3:00 in the morning. And he's going into the county headquarters at 7 or 8. And he's here, he's holding meetings, answering questions. He came on the show, all kinds of other things to really show that he does have his own boots on the ground and he does care about the community. He's doing whatever he possibly can. And as soon as he said about cleaning up happening soon, this week, our streets started becoming bare. and debris left, and where the state failed to get a lot of the assets that Ron DeSantis stood in my driveway and told me I was going to get. He brought county assets in to replace what state assets never showed up. So that's my one local guy.
DeSantis was in your driveway, like literally your driveway?
I gave DeSantis and Sheriff Chris Nocco a tour of the outside of my house. And I put my foot about 4 or 5 inches off the ground to illustrate where Hurricane Idalia was at. And they saw the mud still on the side of my house about 4 feet off the ground to illustrate where Hurricane Helene was at. And DeSantis just goes, oh, wow. And he said, I'm going to help ripping out drywall and carpet and cleaning out and whatever help I need. That was literally the last moment I heard from anyone at the state of Florida. That was it. And now my dad's here on his own dime to help me start getting that done and starting the rebuild. But Jack, on the other hand, outstanding job. Republican, Trump supporter. Yeah, I'll vote for him in a heartbeat. One of the few Trump supporters I'll actually support myself.
Another issue. I want to bring up another issue that's over here in Ohio that I forgot. It's called Issue 1, and it's a anti-gerrymandering bill. So right now in the state of Ohio, we have how districts are drawn, as everybody should know. Every 10 years is a sentence, and because of the census and the movement of population growth, decline, just relocation, they have to draw districts in the state house, state senate, and as well as U.S. Congress. And those districts are right now in Ohio are drawn by the legislators. We have a supermajority Republican legislature, so it's very Republican heavy and weighted maps. And so people were getting a little irritated about that. So the people came together in the grassroots movement to get a ballot initiative on actually a constitutional amendment. I'm sorry, I think it's a constitutional amendment where now we're trying to get, if it passes, yes on Issue 1. There is a independent commission that's going to be drawing the maps instead of the elected officials. And so that's going to be huge for Ohio. And I think that if this does pass, which I think it's going to pass by like 57 to 60%, we will have I think that by 2028, Yergs and Blake, you're going to see Ohio back in play as the bellwether of how everything goes, because it's going to totally change the dynamics of the Electoral College. It's going to totally change the dynamics of state politics. It's going to be interesting, and I think it's going to have a very big ripple national effect.
Just technically, how does it work? How is the independent council or whatever put together? Do you know?
Yeah, so I'm gonna just spitball it, but so I think that I'm pretty much accurate with this, but I hope somebody doesn't hit me and just throw me under the bus. But so what happens is nobody that has ever served in politics, have connections to politics, or lobbyists or whatever can serve on this board, right? So you can't be a politician on it, you can't be a lobbyist, yada yada. And then what happens is it's going to be appointed by judges, and so but the judges are picked by the Republicans and Democrats. So the Republicans are going to pick the Democrat judges, and the Democrats are going to pick the Republican judges. So then the judges are going to come in and pick the commission of people that have, again, no ties to politics to come in to try to create these maps and sit on that commission. And then they draw the maps.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be curious to see how it works. I would definitely be interested to look into it.
So I'm all for that, and it looks good on paper. But didn't your state also just vote in an amendment to the Constitution legalizing marijuana that your Republican legislature flat out ignored?
Yeah. No. Well, it's legal here. There's dispensaries here. They opened up. There's a huge. Here's the problem with that. The issue 2 that was back in November. I always thought it was a flawed bill, to be honest with you, because it's an initiative. It wasn't a constitutional amendment. And so it was just basically hey, we want this. We're going to give it to the legislature to figure it out because this is what the people want, instead of saying like, now this is law, right? So there was, with that, I think it was a flawed bill, they have moved forward in Ohio, so where you can go to dispensaries and buy marijuana products. However, there is a huge regulatory capture that came out of this, and a lot of finagling from the state legislature. Because obviously, why wouldn't you, when you can try to milk these people and companies and marijuana growers for campaign donations and super PAC money and greasing some palms? So,
yeah, exactly. That's the problem with all this stuff. Like, people don't think about, well, no, that's a whole thing. But yeah, I'd be interested to see if that works. I mean, the thing about gerrymandering is people only tend to complain about it when it's the side that they don't like that's in power and doing it. But like, this is something everyone does. It's always been a problem. I don't know. I've read some stuff that kind of is like maybe gerrymandering is not really the problem it used to be, because it's not really changing much other than the congressional sometimes districts, and even those are pretty hard to change now because we're getting so polarized and we're swinging so hard one way or the other. There's not a lot of purple places in America, or some people theorize. So like I said, like some states are getting over, like where you got like it wouldn't matter how you draw the maps. Like Oklahoma, like you could have a robot or AI draw the maps. It's not going to change anything about how red Oklahoma is right now. There's some places that are a little bit more. Atlanta would be somewhere that would be something that's like a more interesting demographic kind of place, but there's where you do actually see some sort of purple stuff going on, because it's a lot of like urban elite black Democrats and stuff like that, and so it's a different demographic than you have in like Detroit, for example. So there's some places where that kind of purple thing is happening, like a really kind of blue spot in a red state. Austin, Texas is another one. But what we're seeing, I think, across the country more and more is that you're seeing more places go very, very blue. We're going like Oregon, Washington, where the whole state are kind of going all in on. And I think it's unhealthy on either side. I think that when you get too red or too blue and you have these super majorities, I think what you end up is like you end up with not a lot of ability to. It's not compromise isn't the right word I'm trying to think of. It's like you get more, I don't want to say extreme either, but you do like you tend to get sclerotic because you're not having to campaign very well to get back in your seat. So you're not having to really do a good job. And so it ends up, you kind of get bad state legislatures, I think, when these states get way too red or way too blue. It's just that some of that's happening naturally. It's not necessarily because of the gerrymandering. So I would love to see it get more, you should have to kind of have some swings back and forth to be a healthy party, I think.
Let me propose a question to both of you, because I've been getting this a lot on the trail, actually, because of this new anti-gerrymandering bill, which the vote no people for this bill actually is saying no gerrymandering, and we call it stop gerrymandering. So it's pretty interesting.
Vote for the wrong one.
Yeah, it was honestly a really smart tactic, even though it was kind of borderline unethical. But anyway,
yeah, so welcome to politics.
I was going to say somebody uses a play on words to counter a movement that could change and bring fairness about to a state that's currently weighted in one direction, and you think that's borderline unethical?
Well, I mean, look, people have different opinions about stuff, though, Jurgs. It's not like you can't say that someone's morally right on the side of the like. It's a technical question, is what we're talking about.
I agree with Blake here. It really is, because here let me pose this.
Too many years in federal law enforcement, being straight and narrow.
Yeah, but I don't think that drawing districts is like. So one thing I don't know if is in this law or bill is how the districts are determined to be fair, in air quotes. And do you base it off of how many people voted for the governor or statewide elections, or aggregate or weighted vote of that? Do you do it by the amount of voters that came out and aggregate to how many Republicans versus Democrats, and then the more Democrats or more Republicans that you draw districts to one way or the other?
That's one thing that I think needs to be taken into consideration.
Right.
Is like, look at social media, Facebook, YouTube. They don't care how many subscribers you've got. They care how many people are interacting with your post or your show or your whatever. That the whole, hey, don't forget to subscribe, that's not going to do anything. Don't forget to take part. Don't forget to click like. Don't forget to answer the questions. Don't forget to show us that you're there. That's what's going to help the Facebook post. or YouTube video or anything. And I think that's what needs to be brought into elections. Maybe we could actually get more than 50% voting during an election that could be electing a dictator.
Yeah, I'm not sure I want more people voting when I think people are as ill-informed as they are, honestly, right now. I mean, that if you want to ask me, because look, do you know why we have Donald Trump? Is because we let people choose him. So this is like one of those things.
I really want to go back to this question before we go on
I'll be right back.
our Trump tangents again. So I want to ask this question: did Blake leave?
I don't think so.
I think Blake left.
No, he's still on my thing.
Yeah, I think Blake stepped away. So I have a question. I have a question that I've been asked a lot. Yeah. I want your opinions on it, but I got to wait for Blake to get back. So we can talk about whatever we want to talk about then.
Then moving up the ticket at the state level, besides yourself, or I mean, at the state level, or did you really cover that with the local?
Yeah, well, there's the two state state rep and state senate race, and then issue 1 is what I'm looking at as well.
Okay, so then for Congress, Senate, and so on, what else you like there?
Well, obviously, Deemer for Congress.
Yeah.
Blake's back. Okay,
I'm back. Sorry, my dog was barking at the Airbnb to get us. I had to run out there.
Okay, so here's my question: is what do you think about the current congressional district? So we're talking about redistricting and all that stuff, and everybody's like, well, if we went through the original ideas of the founders and it wasn't capped, like the amount of Congress wasn't capped in 1842 at whatchamacallit, 435.
Yeah, 435.
Then we would have, like Madison advocated for, something like 33,000 or 40,000 people per district. Yeah. That would put us at something like 10,060 congressional districts if you're talking about current population.
Yeah.
But people say that it should be expanded. Like having the current representation of average 760,000 people per congressional district is unmanageable, especially if you're talking about states like your state, Blake, where 760,000 people is half the state. It's we're
a little bigger than that now. I mean, Oklahoma City is the 20th largest city in the country now, so it's more like that's like half of Oklahoma City's population. But yeah, so that's why we have 5 districts. Yeah, it's basically Oklahoma City, Tulsa, and then 3 other districicts throughout the state.
Right. So that's a lot of land.
Yeah.
To cover.
Yeah, it is.
There's a lot of land,
I think this would solve so many of our problems in government if you even expanded it to 1,000 seats. Just think if Congress was double the size it was right now, you would have real accountability. If you I get to double it, I would say I would love to go to the big number. I'd love to say it'd be 4,000 people. I'd like to say let's 10x it, because okay, so now it's 70,000 people, not 700,000 people that you're dealing with. Well, you can have real relationships with 70,000 people. That's, you know what I mean? That's more of it's like a local, I don't know. That's doable. And there's a lot more accountability there. And gerrymandering is a lot harder to do when you're talking about 70,000 groups of 70,000, especially in a metro area. And that's normally where this gerrymandering is happening, is in metro areas where they can go, okay, we're going to go around the poor neighborhoods. We're going to go around the Latino ones. Although the other funny thing about this is that Democrats are wrong about demographics being destiny in the first place, as we're seeing by Latino and Black men specifically going for Trump right now, pretty high numbers. I think that the idea that Latino voters were going to vote a certain way, I think is so foolish that we think that everyone that speaks Spanish in this country is the same. It's the same as trying to pretend all white people are the same in this country. Like a white hillbilly in West Virginia is the same as an Oklahoma redneck, is the same as an elite guy in LA, because they're white and speak English. And so I think we misunderstand a lot of how we gerrymander stuff. I think that's proving to not be even working, because no one thought going into this election the problem for Biden or Harris was going to be losing Latino voters or Black men. That was not the narrative 2 years ago going into this. And so, drawing a district might not help you. Now, I think Trump's a unique phenomenon. I don't necessarily know that translates to congressional races. I think that in an off year, just look at how many fewer people vote in 2026 or 2022 compared to the presidential election years. And it's clear that there's a lot of people that just vote in presidential elections, and will, if you're not running for, obviously you got to run for Congress every 2 years. So one year you get to run on a presidential's coattails, another one you don't.
Too.
No, I don't think it should. I mean, I think that we need the ability for quick turnover. I just think there needs to be less safe seats. If the seats were less safe, you would see Congress maybe start doing their jobs a little better. But right now the seats are. No. I just mean, if you, for example, right now, most people will hold their nose and vote for their team because we're getting so partisan, no matter what, because they're like, well, it's not worth having someone else. Well, so when you're talking about 435 people, well, if that expanded to 4,000 people, and obviously people talk about, well, you can't have them in the building. Well, yeah, we've got tools. We could do it virtually. I don't know. I'm sure we could solve that problem. My point is that I'm much less likely if there's 4,000 people and we have 50 reps in Oklahoma instead of 5. We have 10 times the number of reps. I'm more willing to fire someone for a Democrat, for example, even just to be like, hey, I want you to learn your lesson that you got to do what I send you there to do, or you're going to lose your job. And right now, most people just aren't doing that. Once you're an incumbent, there's very few seats in the whole country that are swappable. And the truth is, the reason that it's going to be such a tight race this year is because that happened for the Republicans in 2020, and normally it would have happened in 2022 when you got the big wave, the red wave. They actually got a lot of that in 2020, which is why it was very small.
The pink splash.
Right. It just wasn't in 2022. And that's because there's not that many winnable districts that actually switch back and forth. And they got most of those in 2020. There just weren't that really many competitive districts in 22. And we're seeing the same thing you look at the Senate map right now, it's just beneficial to the Republicans this year. But most of those seats are very, very safe. Once you're an incumbent, it's very, very hard to get rid of those people. There's not very many Senate, and obviously there's no gerrymandering that can happen with Senate races. They're statewide. So to me, you look at how few even close Senate races there are now. Things are very, very blue. They're very, very red. There's a handful of purple ones. It's like 7 states. So I think we're just getting more and more partisan. I think that's the problem. We've got to solve the partisanship thing, the team sport kind of thing. And start calling out our own sides on when people are bad actors. And the truth is the Republican Party is very much not willing to do it. And Democrats kind of aren't to the same too, because they're trying to praise Biden. And I think that Biden caused a lot of these problems.
I don't know. I don't know about the whole partisan thing, to be honest with you. But anyway, this is going back to expanding the Congress. You think we should expand it all the way to 4,000?
I'd say let's go for it. Yeah, I think it would. I think it would help. I think.
So, but I mean, considering that you are a Republican, Republicans are notorious for saying small government.
Right. So, I was just thinking that.
And so you want to have the Capitol building have 4,000 representatives in it, and then what are we talking about? The same salaries, so about $200,000 a piece, plus a staff of 12 for each of them.
Well, I mean, there's
plus campaign offices. Plus,
there's a lot of logistic stuff there.
Term limits and no retirement package.
Yeah, the problem with term limits that I don't think works is that they have to vote for it, and people say they're for term limits until they get in there. That's a lot harder to change. I'm telling you, people would get term limited by getting voted out if they didn't think they were doing their job, because they'd be. I think we've got to be represented. If the point of the House of Representatives is to be representative, you can't represent 700,000 people. You can't talk to those people, and that's what you're hearing. That's why Cori Bush got voted out. Is because she wasn't spending any time in her district. That's what the problem with Cori Bush was. It wasn't that she was super aggressive.
So I'm with you, Ross, with term limits, but no retirement. I think that's kind of harsh, to be honest with you.
It needs to. When John Adams ran for Congress, he didn't want it.
Yeah, you're right. It used to be a temporary.
If you wanted it or not, we're talking. That doesn't matter.
His colleagues had to talk him into it, and as a result, they had to play the card. It's what the country needs. There needs to be a return of you are doing a service for your country, and you are making a legacy for yourself in whatever terms you've got, whether it's 3 terms as a senator over a span of 18 years, 2 terms as president over a span of 8, or however many in the House with 2, 4, 6, however long a term finally is. But you need to know going in, this is not going to be your job.
Yes, Yes, I disagree, and I'm gonna use a baseball reference here, for an example. We have a couple things that we're trying to compete with. Number one is we're trying to compete with the private sector. You want to get good, talented people into Congress,
Yeah.
and we don't. Congress, even though they do get paid well, they don't get paid for somebody who's going to be an achiever to a high achiever in the private sector.
Yeah.
Second is you're
You
not
just
going
answered
to.
your own question.
No, I didn't. Give me a
You
second. I
just
haven't even
answered your
asked the
own
question.
question, and you solved a huge problem in our government today.
What?
The Secret Service is going through the same thing. Up until I moved to DC, prided myself on the fact that my agency still hires their director from within the ranks of currently employed agents.
Uh-huh.
I get to DC and I see the gross mismanagement because they've really essentially got an unlimited amount of money. They don't need to spend it wisely. They don't need to do anything with time wisely.
Mm-hmm.
They can just make things happen immediately.
Right.
That's not reality. So I said, and a lot of my colleagues are the same, and it kind of sort of almost happened in the past during my career. It needs to be someone from private sector who knows how to manage a company efficiently. Because if they do something bad, it's going to cost them financially and could also cost them their job. As such, we actually had our first non-Secret Service director. It's kind of a compromise in that he was a Secret Service agent and a boss. He came back from retirement from another thing and had some private experience. We had two of them, actually three of them. One was, speaking of John Kelly, one was a Marine that knew John Kelly. And my point of that is we will never get Tim Cook to leave Apple
Right.
to be the director of the Secret Service.
Right.
But we could get this punk executive named Blake Fisher, who's this up and coming executive that's going to do well in the interview process, has already developed some level of a resume, who we know damn well is not going to retire as a director of the Secret Service. But he's going to give us 5 or 6 good years and bring things to where they need to be.
Sure, but so then compensation would have to be comparable with the private sector.
Congress is something similar to that, where it's not going to be your career, but it's going to be something on your resume that
I agree with that. But you still have
hold on, let me finish. Most of the Americans that you're going to compete against aren't going to have. Who is going to take that position? Younger people.
So you think you should be paid less or more?
Not. I'll tell you what they don't need to have the budgets that they've got to be able to fill their cars up with gas for free while they're in the district at $175,000 to start. They don't need that.
I vehemently disagree with that. I mean, it's almost like you're angry
at because you're running for Congress.
System.
Well, no, I mean, I just
running for Congress is just logistically doesn't make sense. I mean, you're saying like, oh my God, they're getting paid $175,000. Meanwhile, you have people living in Manhattan / in DC, the two most priciest places to live in the country, and that if you just take rent from one bedrooms in both of those, they have no money left.
Yeah. Let me go and say the reason.
This doesn't make sense, Ross. Nothing you're saying is making sense, and you're not going to attract people from the private sector if you say I'm going to pay you less.
Did we spend the whole first hour of the show mother effing Joe Biden for being too old and not admitting it? Yes or no?
It's not. Well, yeah. So if you want it to be a service, that means the person has to make money first. And if they're going to make money first, that means they have to go through the private sector and then be this old person.
All of a sudden, you don't want to answer the question.
What are you talking about?
Did we spend the first hour of this show today talking about Joe Biden's age?
Yeah.
And is that not a problem with presidential politics with both parties?
I don't understand what this has to do with.
It's a problem with Congress.
This has nothing to do with Congress and their salaries and the size of the districts.
We've got senators that are dying in office at 100 years old.
I agree with term limits, man. But you're saying you want them to work for free too.
I'm just saying. I'm not saying about working for free. Stop changing and MAGA-ing what I'm saying. I'm saying they don't need to be a career, and they don't.
I agree. I agree.
What does a top congressman make after 20 years?
Here's the thing. I think
the same. They don't get raises.
Yeah, they don't get raises the longer they're there. Listen, here's the thing.
What
Doesn't
does
matter.
It's not like they're a G6.
I don't care. I don't care what someone gets paid salary wise. I think that they get paid enough. My problem is when they get rich from being in Congress.
Yeah, that's my
and
point.
that is happening across the board because it's corrupt. I mean, it's what it is. They get rich. The salary is nothing compared to what they're making. Most people when they enter Congress and leave Congress they leave millionaires. You don't become a millionaire getting paid $175,000 a year. You just don't. Like most people,
you do after 10 years when you don't have to spend any of that $175,000.
Not the level of money
if you're in Congress.
It's
not like it's going into the bank and they subsidize all your living.
Yeah, you gotta have
you have to have two residences.
Yeah.
You have to pay rent.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't begrudge what Congress gets paid. But I do begrudge them making money outside of that way where the truth is the problem with there's a lot of problems with Congress. I think all of our problems lie with Congress, and that's why I do think shaking up Congress is the way to go. The only way to do that is to expand it, in my opinion. Because they're not going to here's the problem. Trump wants to implement tariffs on everything. He'll probably be able to if he gets elected without Congress, because Congress is given those powers to the executive branch. A long time ago they had those powers. I understandably they gave them up because there was a lot of corruption in the way it was doing it, but they shouldn't have given it all to the executive branch without any kind of check on it. And the problem now, if you wanted to change those laws, guess who has to sign it? The president. So they can't change that back. Trump could probably do what he wants to do. That's Congress's fault. We're going to have Congress to blame.
He does everything through executive order.
No, but Congress gave him the power to do this. This is different. This is not like, oh, let's see if this is illegal and we'll let the courts fight it. This is he probably has the authority to do it.
How many times did the Biden administration send a bill to Congress about the border?
Twice. And one time it never got out of committee. So when
was the first one?
The month in 2021, but it never got out of committee.
You listened to the show last week after you left, because that's exactly what I said.
Right, because I mean, it never did. Right, it never got out of committee, and then obviously James Langford
in both occasions, Trump called to squash it.
Well, it wasn't. It was Democrats squashed it actually. That's a lie about the first one. The first one didn't make it out of committee.
It's not a lie. He made the call on that one too.
Democrats had the House at the time. Hold on.
No, I'm going to finish first. The Democrats didn't do anything about it because they knew they had 4 more years to make it happen.
Who had Congress?
Everybody sat on their ass,
including had
Congress? 2 of those years with Republicans not doing dick. Because
hold on, Yerks. Who controlled the House of Representatives in 2021? Democrats, which means they had a majority on the committee that it didn't get out of, which meant Democrats.
What about the Senate? Who was in the Senate?
The point. That's not how it works.
Who was in the Senate?
It didn't make it out of the House. It was not in the Senate.
Who was in the Senate?
The Democrats were
Republicans. You can say it. That's okay.
No, it was controlled by Democrats for 2 years. What are you talking about?
Trump made that call in 2021 as well.
Yerks.
I just heard her talk about it.
Yerks, Democrats controlled the House and the Senate in 2021.
I know that.
If they wanted to pass a bill, they could have.
Republicans didn't have their hand in squashing it.
When's the last time you heard of Republicans convincing Democrats to vote against a bill in Congress? That's what you're saying. I'm saying Democrats chose not to bring more of that bill. They're trying to pretend it was Republicans.
Enough. The Democrats didn't have enough. You're right about that.
Well, so then it was Democrats that killed it, not Republicans.
The Democrats sat on it because they knew they had 4 more years to do something with it. And then 2022 happened.
You're taking the side for Biden, pretending he was going to try to solve something when he didn't. He made the border worse in 2021 with every action he did. Every action he did in 2021, he made it worse.
He did make the border worse. But one of the ways he made it worse was by not doing any of the many executive orders that Trump did, because he had respect for the congressional process.
That's not. I don't think that's why he did it.
100%. That's what happened.
So, don't you think there's a better way to do that, Yerks? Don't you think that's better to go do the legislative process before you let 10 million people come across the border?
By just being a dictator wannabe and writing executive order after executive order after executive order and ignoring Congress altogether? Yeah, that's a great idea. What could happen?
Raise your hand if you seriously think Biden gives two hoots about what is illegal or legal. With everything he's done with his student loan stuff has been struck down the courts, and he keeps trying to do it over and over again. He does not care about Congress. He does not care about the Constitution. He does not care if something's legal or not. He will do it no matter what. Don't pretend that Joe Biden is.
Come on,
you're
Blake,
over exaggerating. He doesn't care.
No, I'm not.
What do you mean? First of all, I didn't even say anything. How you say both of you is over exaggerating? Stop you, Blake. Second, I said stop you. See, I'm learning how to censor.
No, look, dude,
second, Blake, you put things out there and they get challenged by law, and because you wanted to see what the law and where the law. These are sometimes the law is a guardrail of like this is what we can do, and and to try to get things done.
Student loan forgiveness. Joe Biden and Pelosi both said out loud to press that is not an executive order. That is not something the president can do. That takes Congress to do that. Nancy Pelosi said it. Joe Biden said it. And when
Nancy
Congress wouldn't do
Pelosi
anything,
said that because she's part of Congress.
It's
just like the polls you listen to.
She said it because it's true.
Because they want to make themselves relevant.
She said it because it's true. Congress has the power of the purse. The executive branch does not have the power of the purse. He is lying about. He knew it was illegal, and it got struck down by the Supreme Court.
Has power of enforcement.
He knew it was illegal, and he did it anyway. He knew it was illegal, and he did it anyway. Don't pretend that Joe Biden is some harbinger of the competition.
Don't discount what the president is. He decides what gets enforced.
That's not enforcement. You can't change budgetary stuff. That's not enforcement. He can't give money away. That is Congress's job. It's Congress's job. It's not Joe Biden's job. And this is why people don't like Joe Biden. This is part of the reason, is because he's done this kind of stuff. These are giveaways to his constituencies.
After executive order to do things that should also be done through Congress.
He made it worse. He made it worse. His executive orders and his executive orders made the border worse. Both of them made it
I think all of them are making it worse. The fact is we have weak Congress. We have a weak Congress that don't want to do their damn job. And a lot of these executive orders are going to the president because the Congress doesn't want to do their job because they're too scared of losing a vote because they have to make a decision.
And we need a president that has the balls to say, no, that's your job. Do it.
And they wouldn't do their job, so then it doesn't get done.
Well, then fine. That's
stop. Like, that's fine. That does. It's like asking your kid to go clean the kitchen. Yes. It's like, well, I'm not going to do it. Well, I'm not going to do it either. Well, the kitchen stays dirty.
That's not how this works. Blake. The executive branch doesn't just get to take powers away that it doesn't have in the Constitution because Congress chooses not to do something. If Congress chooses not to forgive student loans, that's Congress's job. You don't get to then be the president and say, oh, well, because they didn't do anything, I'm going to do something. That's not how our Constitution is set up. And if we don't like it as people, you could vote different people into Congress. That is the check on Congress. That's people, my whole point. And we're happy with them.
That is
some dumb reason.
I got to put my head in front of this light bulb that my dad turned on. That is my whole point. Is that Congress? There's no reason for Congress to do anything because they've got a cush job, and I just looked it up, ranging from $175,000 to the speaker gets $225 or $235, something like that. Hold on, it's right here. The speaker gets $223,500. The majority and minority leaders get $193,400. The Senate Pro Tem gets $193,400, and the base is $174,000 even for your basic member.
Yeah, but that's our fault for keeping electing these people that don't do their jobs. It's not the president's job. It's not the president's job.
Then are you going to vote differently in Oklahoma? Let's start at home. I'm not voting. Speaking of our endorsements that we got to finish here, I'm not voting for Gus Bilirakis.
Well, I don't have a senator up.
He is a Trumper. He's Trump's bitch. He's not done anything for this flood situation, even though he said he has. He's trying to walk on the ride on the coattails of FEMA. And speaking of population, certainly never returned any of my God knows how many calls to his office. Actually,
people like that sometimes get voted out. It does happen sometimes. Cory Bush got primaried, but most of that's happening in primaries now. It's not happening. That's what I'm saying. Most districts are competitive in primaries. They're not competitive in the general election. So really, most of the general election, there's not a lot of swing to go. It's like there's something like 40 seats that are swingable in the country. So it's like 10% of the seats. It's probably a little more than that, but it's not very many. So it's hard to change Congress. You got to change it in the primary system, but the primary system is really messed up because it's a tiny fraction of people that vote in congressional primaries because people don't care about that stuff, and they should.
All the more reason why results in the primary need to help with congressional districts.
That's why I don't think we should have primaries. I would like to just get rid of them. I'd much rather the party choose people. I know. That's fine. I know y'all think I'm crazy, but look, I mean, right now it's not democratic to let
you don't think that's going to bring back the Tammany Hall?
Look, I'm not saying it's realistic that primaries go away entirely, but even stuff like the ranked choice stuff might help. But
yeah, I agree with Ray. I was going to say ranked choice. If you were advocating for ranked choice, but a ranked choice primary, yes.
But like the thing is, I do think the parties should have more skin in the game. I think they should pick people more so that we can reward or punish them. The problem right now is that the Republicans don't really like Donald Trump has control of the Republican Party. Donald Trump never would have sniffed the nomination in 2016 if the party had power. People think the parties are powerful. They wouldn't let Bernie Sanders, a guy that's not even really a Democrat, almost take the primary in 2016. So my point is, I'd say let them kind of have a little more say in who they put up.
What are you talking about again?
I'm talking about that. Like I wish
Bernie Sanders. What's wrong with Bernie? No, what's wrong with Bernie?
He says he's a Democrat,
he's not a Democrat
or whatever he's calling himself this week.
And my point is, the party would not have let someone.
Blake and I are agreeing here. That's scary. Yeah. We should take a commercial. Find out something that we disagree on, so we can keep arguing.
Wait, what? I don't even know what we're disagreeing on.
We're agreeing that Bernie Sanders should not be able to caucus with the Democrats because he's some.
You can caucus with whoever you want,
communist or whatever he's called.
Well, I'm just saying, like, they wouldn't have let a guy that doesn't even call himself a Democrat almost take the nomination away from Hillary Clinton if they had any real power, is my point. Yeah. Same thing with Donald Trump.
You saw what happened.
So, right, that's what I'm saying. That's what are
you talking about?
Well, but they didn't. I mean, they didn't.
The guy was running on a very populist message, and people liked him.
Yeah. What was that? The joke
he got screwed.
The joke that Barack Obama did.
Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying they wouldn't have let him even run. That's my point. They wouldn't have let him into the primary if you had any kind of control. I think we should at least let the parties control something about the primaries. Like, I would love to see the first party that said, hey, look, if you want to run for president in our party, you have to have been a senator or a governor. Just to be like, we're going to make sure we have adults and we don't have a situation where some celebrity thinks they can come in here and just be more. It's a popularity contest.
I think that you're getting in problem with the Constitution.
No, not the part. There is nothing in the Constitution that says the parties picked the nominees until we did not have primaries till 50 years ago.
Yeah,
we didn't have them.
All right. Well, shout out to Bob from Pickle Bob Jr. in Twitch. Thanks for joining us. We got to take a break. 1490.
Bob's Pickle.
I don't know. Yeah. I don't know, but Bob's saying Bob here, and we're glad he is. So thanks for joining us, Bob. 1490 WWPR. And the rest of the Mastiff Media, 1991, 99.1 WDJY. We'll be back after this.
Is the only president in American history who has refused to guarantee the peaceful transfer of power.
Joe Biden.
He lost the election and he knew it.
To become the president.
He betrayed millions of Americans by telling them the election was stolen.
Stop the steal.
He ignored the rulings of dozens of courts. Rather than accept his defeat, he mobilized a mob to come to Washington and march on the Capitol. Then he watched on television while the mob attacked law enforcement, invaded the Capitol, and hunted the vice president. He refused for 3 hours to tell the mob to leave. There has never been a greater dereliction of duty by any president. Trump was warned repeatedly that his plans for January 6th were illegal. He didn't care, and today he celebrates those who attacked our Capitol. Donald Trump has proven he is unfit for office. Donald Trump is a risk America can never take again.
Smell nasty? Do you want to freshen it up a little bit? Go to aromabypeter.com. Check out all of Peter's candles. It's what we burn here in Studio Yergs. I'm burning right now leather scented candle. That's right, leather scented. So go to aromabypeter.com/Yergs and check out his candles today.
I'm Jane Stahl, retired English teacher, and with my BFF, Susan Bebeck, we manage Studio B Fine Art Gallery in Boyertown, Pennsylvania. We showcase the art of hundreds of local artists, publish books of the poetry, prose, and art of local writers, offer classes, art parties, workshops, discussion groups, catered dinners. We've even hosted a wedding. And we're here to be the go-to place for friendship, learning, and fun in our community. Virtual tours of our exhibits are available right here on Yerg's Radio. Let us introduce you to some amazing art and artists.
Check out Jane Stahl and everyone at Studio B in Boyertown, Pennsylvania. Please visit our YouTube channel, Talk TV 24. How's your website doing? I'll tell you how mine's doing. It's awesome. Yergs.com is gotta be the best website for anybody in podcasting or any sort of broadcast solo journalist like me. How did I get that? Limit Break Digital. Limit Break Digital did my website with Yergs.com. They did YergerGroup.com. They take care of my marketing, my branding, and help me get the message out to you. Go to limitbreakdigital.com/Yergs for 10% off your next project. That's a $3,000 site, Yergs.com. And you can get 10% off that by just going to limitbreakdigital.com/Yergs today. Talk to Jay. That's my guy. We all got a guy, and Jay's mine. limitbreakdigital.com. Hey. All right, gang. One more time for an amazing breakfast before today's show. Sunny Side Up Cafe, right here in Hudson, Florida. 14148 US Highway 19, Hudson. It's at 19 and Hudson Road in the Winn-Dixie Hudson Hardware Shopping Center. $9.95. I might have said $9.99. It's $9.95. Steak and eggs. You get your choice, by the way. T-bone, New York strip. Dad and I both had the filet mignon or ribeye. And 2 eggs, toast, potato, everything was amazing. Well done. Stop in. They get a lunch. They're there till 2 o'clock. You can hit them up. Sunnyside Up Hudson at gmail.com. Again, on 19 and Hudson Road. Also, momentum. You got a gut like I do right now? Build that momentum. That momentum, fitness and wellness. Also on 19, a little further down in Jasmine Estates. And you go in and talk with Anthony. That's my guy. Like I said in the website commercial, we all got a guy. And for fitness, Anthony's mine. His podcast will be starting in November right here on Yerg's Radio. He does it live on Wednesdays, records it. I'm not sure if we're going to put it live also onto Yerg's Radio at that time. We got to talk it out and figure out what we want to do. But he is a huge wealth of information when it comes to the fitness and most importantly, diet. You can work out all day. You can do all the cardio you want. If you ain't eating right, you ain't training right. And he will absolutely help you. Yeah, I just kind of finish a word there. He will absolutely help you get that Hudson Beach, Hernando Beach body, whichever beach you're in, or keep it if you got one already. Momentum, fitness, and wellness. All right, we got about 10 minutes left. We got to finish our endorsements. And I want to see if the guys are even still here. There we go. Blake, you still there?
I'm here.
I want to see you next week looking like a hockey player.
Well, I don't look that bad. I just have this like thing under my nose that's keeping blood from running out. So I look like kind of more of an idiot than I look bad.
So you kind of look like Donald Trump took a bullet in the nose instead of the ear.
Sort of, yes. Same idea.
See that? At least send us a picture.
Oh, yeah, I'll send you a picture. Yeah, for sure.
All right. So congressionally, everybody's getting behind Matt Damon for Congress for multiple reasons. I mean,
it's not legal for me to vote for him, but yeah.
Dude squared away.
I'm not going to jail for it or anything.
He's up against a MAGA guy, which is also important. But I just always, from your first campaign to when I first met you through Daily Crypto News, you have a down-to-earth level that society as a whole needs. You're not the one fighting with a mic with me or Blake. You just sit there and listen. But then when you speak, Blake and I are like, who the hell is that? Who's talking right now? And we both stop and we listen. And we go, oh, this is other guy that's part of the show. And something intelligent comes out of your mouth. We need that in Congress, as I pick boogers out of my eye. We need that in Congress. And yeah, without question, my endorsement for Ohio.
Blake, does something intelligent come out of my mouth? I think you might have something.
Blake, do you agree with that?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, sometimes not, but yeah, I mean.
Then in Florida, I don't see it happening. This is the point I've been trying to make about Florida and Texas. Okay, maybe they're not fully 24/7 leading their Republican opponent, but the fact that it's close enough to be a news item should scare the Republicans. Maybe not now, but in 2026, and definitely by 2028. And that is Debbie Powell over Rick Scott in Florida. And like I said, I'm worried that it's not going to come even close enough to maybe happening. But if we're listening to the polls, she's not far behind.
I think that it's not. I think we can't make straight line projections though, because I think there's so much about what happens right now with who's at the top of the ticket, especially in these presidential election years, and Trump is kind of weird the way he affects. I mean, there's several states where the senator is going to get more votes than he's going to.
I think there's anywhere, Senator or House of Reps, where he's going to have a negative effect.
Not this year, no. I mean, you look at even in Pennsylvania right now, and the two candidates are running ads with people talking about how they, bucked Biden on fracking and sided with Trump on something. So even the Democratic senators and Congress people in Pennsylvania are Trump. Trump has higher favorability than he has, and I didn't think that was possible.
Yeah,
but he does, and I think I really do think it's because Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are just really very, very bad representation of and politicians for, and I just think that almost anyone else could beat Trump. It's insane. I agree, Yergs. It's insane to me that he's probably at this point going to get. He's very. I mean, it's a coin flip that he's going to be the next president after trying to steal an election. After you're right, all the bad things. After, like I said, chief of staffs and his vice president and all these people. You're right. Like, it doesn't make any sense to me. It's like, but to me, that points at what I say that gets a lot of backlash. I feel like from everyone I say it to, but I mean, I think that you got to go at some point. Like, yeah, well, we're kind of. It seems like America's kind of at a rotten populist crossroads right now, and I think it's about who's gonna win that. I think, and that's in both parties, by the way, too. This populism thing, I think, is bad. I think that it doesn't work. I think it's political demagoguery, and I think it's bad. I think it's all about vilifying the other side, and it's all about hyperbole, and it's more of a religion now than it is politics. And I think that's bad for the country. And I think that it's showing that there's a rot here that will not change. I'm afraid it won't change until something very, very bad happens. And I don't think it doesn't take much for something very bad to happen when you look at what's, Russia and China and terrorist organizations in Iran. And these people are happy to work with each other. South Korea or North Korea just sent troops to Ukraine or to Russia that maybe end up in Ukraine. We're not like exaggerating to say that's very World War sounding when one country is sending troops to another country's war. I don't think it's crazy to say something very terrible could happen. And I just can't believe we're in a situation where either of these people are going to be in charge of that, because I think Kamala Harris is an empty vessel and I think she's over her skis. And Donald Trump, I think, is in the same boat. He hired good people last time. He's not going to hire those good people this time. And I think what's going to have disastrous consequences. Every good foreign policy thing Trump did was because he hired the right person. He had John Kelly's there to tell him what to do. He's not going to have those people this time.
What were their nicknames? The John Kellys and such.
Well, I mean, now they're rhinos. Or deep state. That's what they're all called now. It's not
the other
or true.
staffers The other Stafford called them the adults in the room.
Oh, right. Yeah, exactly.
They thought had the reins of Trump, and then he still does something like January 6th.
Well, they didn't have the reins at that point because they'd all been fired or left. All the adults were gone after the election. So, yeah, I mean, it's scary to me that we're in this situation and one of these two people is going to be the president because I don't have a lot of faith in either one of them. But I at least think Kamala Harris would listen to a John Kelly, and I don't think Trump would anymore. So to me, that's enough.
Is that Blake saying that he's voting for Kamala?
I don't think I'm voting for her, but it doesn't really matter.
Do you not think
anyway.
that by not holding your nose and voting for Kamala, that you are indirectly voting for Trump?
No, because I'm in Oklahoma. She's not going to win anyway. If I was in Wisconsin, maybe I consider it a little bit more. Here, I like to think of it more of like I don't think someone should get my vote unless they're worthy of it. And while I do think Trump's a threat, I also think the Democrats should be. I'm fine with holding my vote because I think the Democrats did this whole thing wrong. I think Biden did this wrong. I think the Democrats did this wrong. I think she's the weakest possible candidate we could put up there. I think they thought they could just run this on vibes of joy, and they were proven wrong. I think that was. I think the campaign's not as good
nobody's
as they
proven anything until November 5th.
No, you're right, but I think that even if she ekes it out, I think you have to look at this and go like, why can't we beat Donald Trump more handily? Like, I think there's got to be some soul searching over the place after this election.
I think we answered that in the first hour when we kind of realized that the people that are most of his base can't even spell Trump.
Well, I don't think that's fair. I think that they don't know. I think you're right about them not knowing a lot of the bad things about him. I believe that they haven't heard those things. I don't know that it would change their mind either, though, because they've turned this into a team sport and a religion, and that's weird to me. I don't think it's that they're dumb. I think that some of them are justifiably angry, and some of them, like inflation's been a real bummer for a lot of people. And they're going to blame the president, whether it's fair or not. I think it's partially fair. I also think some of that blame goes to Trump, although people won't give it to him. And if they don't like inflation, boy, get ready for Trump's tariffs. They're going to be, it's inflationary in a different way.
Yeah, I was going to say, do you really believe that tariffs are paid by another country?
Well, it's foolish for lots of reasons. Trump's trying to claim it can do both things at the same time. That it can increase manufacturing by eliminating foreign competition, and it can raise enough revenue.
Gents, I got to get out of here. Good talking to you this week. Sorry.
See you, Matt.
All right, buddy. I'll see you next week.
But the problem is it can't do both of those at the same time, because if you're getting the tariffs, if you get all the money from the tariffs, that means people are still buying the imports, which means it doesn't help domestic producers. If you keep the imports out and it helps domestic manufacturing, then you're not getting the tariff money. So it can't pay for everything. Trump's trying to claim it can do both. It will be devastating to the economy if he passes across the board tariffs. And it will wreck the economy.
Speaking of my argument earlier about the political scientists that put Biden at number 14, and maybe that's a little gracious.
I think it's pretty biased. I think it's very gracious. I think it's ridiculous.
But it's certainly not. It's certainly very fair and accurate to say that Trump is at or near the bottom.
See, but I disagree with some of that too. Trump did some foreign policy stuff that I didn't think anyone could do. Look at the Abraham Accords.
Policy is Miss Sweden, Miss Italy, Miss whoever.
No, I'm serious.
We gotta wrap up.
Okay.
1490 WWPR. We're about to lose them in about 40 seconds. So Blake and I are going to kind of wrap up maybe a little on Yerg's Radio. Feel free to join us there at Yerg's, YERGZ, radio.com. It's not going to be long because we all got the things to do today and we're starting a weekend. You can find the show notes and other info at Yerg's, YERGZ.com or www.mastiff.media. You can get Blake at thehomelessconservative.com. Email him there. Tell him, welcome him home. We got to get a home for this guy. And also support Matt Deemer, Matt at dailycryptonews.net, and info at deemerforcongress.com. You can get us all news NEWZ at YERGZ.com. All right. So go ahead. Back to you.
I was just going to say that, you can't, I think that's very generous, and I do think that Trump did some good things, but I think it's because he hired people and it was issues he didn't care about. I think for the most part, he ended up doing like his tax cuts were run of the mill Republican. Any Republican would have done that because it was really Paul Ryan and Mitch McConnell that got that done.
Right.
Abraham Accords were because he didn't care about that stuff, but I think he gets the wins. He did hire the people. Now he did a lot of stuff I didn't like too. I think his spending was outrageous. I think that it contributed to inflation, and so did Biden's. They both were big spenders, and for either one of them to pretend that they're fiscally responsible is laughable. And Trump is promising to be less fiscally responsible. So it's clear that no one cares about fiscal responsibility now, and that's a bummer because I think my generation and younger are going to be the ones that have to pay the bill when it comes on the $33 trillion in debt that we're continuing to go up. And but I mean, Trump gets some credit for the things he did. He's also, it depends what we're talking about. I think they're both very similar, actually. I think that they both have too big of egos. I think they are really insecure about some specific things that they overcompensate for. I think that if either one of them were, I think neither one of Joe Biden or Donald Trump are like honorable presidents. I don't think that they've done the right thing ever, really, for the most part, when it came down to it. I think Trump was told no. I don't think it's unfair. I mean, I think that at every turn that either one of them had a serious decision to make, I think they chose the thing that was better for them than the country. And I think that it goes down to Biden stuff too. I think that if Trump was really the threat that they're claiming, he should be the one to throw himself under the bus for it. And he won't do it. He should have stepped down 2 years ago. He should have not been so stubborn to leave after the bad debate performance.
But this is where they're kind of kept in a bit of a dark. They think that they have people that are surrounding them, that surround them, who will tell them what they need to be told.
Right, and I think neither one of them are very good about doing that. Yeah,
they think they've got that on their staff.
They don't.
They think they know these people, but those people are also fighting for a job. So they tell him what he wants to hear.
Oh yeah, I mean Trump will never have someone on his staff that doesn't tell him what he wants to hear again. It's very clear. Like that's what concerns me is that any president that does that is the threat. And to me, it's pretty obvious that Joe Biden and Donald Trump are very similar in that way. Like Joe Biden surrounded himself with people. The only people he were listening to when people were trying to get him out were his wife and Hunter and his sister, I guess. That's not the people you need advising you in that situation. You need people that will tell you the hard truths. And those people should be the people that tell you. I think your wife should be the person that tells you the hard truths. It's pretty obvious that Jill Biden was not that person. I think she's been pretty selfish in this stuff too. I think she's the person that years ago should have gone, Joe, I don't want to spend your dying days in the White House. I want to spend time with our grandkids. She should have been the person that convinced him to do it. But I think she liked being the first lady. I think she's behaved badly. I think he's behaved badly.
Being the first one in how many years to actually keep her job?
What do you mean?
She's still teaching at
oh yeah, I mean kind of
the one community college. I forget what it is.
I'm not going to call her Dr. Jill Biden. That's ridiculous. I just think
she got a doctorate.
It's like an honorary one though. It's like calling it's a PhD. You don't call PhD people doctor. You call doctors doctors. No, like even the AP Style Guide doesn't let you do that. They refer to them as PhD people, but they don't call them doctor.
Style Guide hasn't opened a book in how long?
Well, my point is like they only changed this for her. They don't call anyone else with a PhD doctor on television. Spell it out. They say blah blah blah. I'm a PhD.
I've called every single college professor I've ever had with a PhD doctor. My niece is now a doctor.
Okay,
Yeah.
I mean, I think I think it's pretty shady. I think it's her trying to inflate what she is. I think it's egotistical, but to demand that label and that title, I think it's kind of ridiculous. I just think that most of these people, we don't have people that we trust in our leaders. I don't think
Biden later returned to school for her doctoral degree, starting under her birth name, Jill Jacobs, in January 2007 at age 55.
I know she has one. I'm saying we don't call those people doctors.
Education. It's not an honorary.
I know.
Yes, you do.
You're right. It's not honorary, but it's just a PhD. It's not a medical doctor, and she parades it around like she's a medical doctor.
No, she doesn't. It's just a doctor.
I've never seen anyone else with a PhD. There's tons of people in Congress that have PhDs that don't put doctor in front of their name.
That's because congressman or senator is a higher title.
I'm just saying. I bet I don't know prove me wrong, I guess, but I think it's pretty silly to be a PhD and be going around having people introduce you as Dr. Jill Biden. That's weird to me.
I mean, apparently this has come up because if I have AP, guess what finished out? If I have a P, and then the rest of it is HD, am I a doctor?
Yeah, but it's a different kind of doctor.
If you earn a PhD, you're
a doctoral.
Doctor.
It's not
I know. Doctor.
I know, but we tend to literally even in the English language in the AP style guide in media philosophy. Stuff. What they do is they say you shouldn't give someone the title.
Doctor of Philosophy.
Yeah, I know.
If my next door neighbor is a veterinarian, is he or she a doctor?
Yes, of course. That's a real medical doctor.
You're not going to have them open heart surgery on you, are
well, they do as much school. I'd have them before I'd have a PhD do it on me.
Well, yeah, but also I'm not going to ask my doctor for advice on my education.
That's fine. I'm just saying, title-wise, we
Joe
don't
Biden because that's what her PhD is.
That's fine. I know, but I'm just saying we tend to use when someone goes, "Is there a doctor here?" No one's asking if there's someone with a doctoral degree in philosophy. Okay,
that's because there's somebody bleeding on the floor,
right? But that's my point: is that you don't go around with the title.
Your airplane just had a heart attack.
Yeah. So I don't have a lot of hope for
past context.
I don't have a lot of hope that past this election we're going to have good things happen. I don't think that Kamala Harris, if she wins, is going to save democracy because I think that we've got some serious worldwide geopolitical stuff that I'm not sure she's up to. And now hopefully she has good people around her. But the Biden administration hasn't.
Would have liked to get to, and we might be able to probably in 3 weeks from now because there's kind of a surprise on November 8th.
Yeah, if we know who won,
we are in a civil war right now. It's not red versus or blue versus gray, or even red versus blue, although it kind of sort of is. Everybody's in plain clothes, but with technology and all the things we can do with technology, especially like AI, I heard a podcast episode yesterday in a podcasting and creative call that I take, which if you're up at 8:00 in the morning, you should absolutely join every Thursday. You'd love it. The people that I work with on this, but they played a snippet of a podcast, an actual podcast where a man and a woman were, worth like you and I are.
Yeah.
He had no idea those people weren't real.
Yeah, it's Google's Notebook LM. I've been using Google's Notebook LM for note taking because what I like about it is it's actually kind of cool. You give it sources, and then it writes, and then it will give you stuff based on those sources. So instead of looking at the internet, I'm giving it like, okay, maybe I want to do, something on economics, or I want to compare the Trump and Harris's policies. I can give it like 20 documents, some PDFs, some news articles, and I can say, give me some good questions. Or I've done it for interviews and stuff like, hey, I'm having this kind of expert on, I'm giving you several sources, give me some good questions. It's great because then it's not like ChatGPT where it's just looking at the internet. I'm like saying, here's what I want you to trust is these sources and give me good stuff from it. But yeah, now they have a thing where you can basically give it documents and stuff like that, and then you can say like have two people argue about the points of these things, which is pretty cool. Now I don't know. AI is tricky. I think that I'm not ready to be all in that. Like in the next 10 years, it's going to be world changing. I don't think we're there yet.
One of the guys that's on that call weekly is actually David Beckmeyer from Outrage Overlay. And he said, keep in mind about AI. It's never going to get any worse.
Yes, that's you're right.
It's always better.
It's always going to get better, but that's all technology.
You're listening to this episode already. Like the popularity and the effectiveness of AI is what? Maybe 2 years old. I mean, really, that it's as mainstream as it is now. and that we've been talking about it as much, maybe for the past 2 years, maybe.
And I would even say then it's definitely been ramping up over the last 2 years, but now everything has an AI component now. We're definitely kind of at peak oversaturation.
And point being, exactly what he said is that I need something else, in addition. So we're going to bring up the pups.
Can I tell you what I'm the most excited about with the AI stuff?
Yeah.
I am most excited that private companies are putting nuclear facilities online for the amount of energy they're having to pull. I think it's pretty hilarious to me that nuclear went from being this like, oh boy, we can't, no, it's so dangerous. And all of a sudden there's these private companies. They're like, well, we need more energy. That's a pretty clean way to do it. Let's just turn 3 Mile Island back on. I love it because I think we should do more nuclear. It's just interesting to me that it's all these Silicon Valley companies that are basically, it's like it's Bill Gates. It's all these people that I think were traditionally anti-nuclear.
They're looking at nuclear cars.
Yeah, and they're looking at some people are wanting to do smaller nuclear stuff. I think nuclear is the answer to a lot of energy problems. And so I'm glad that Congress and Biden, actually, that's something they did, was kind of cut some of the regulatory red tape to get former nuclear facilities back online faster, because they've realized, like, let's not make the mistake that Germany did and just shut down our nuclear plants when it's so safe. When people think it's dangerous, and I go, how many people do you think have died from nuclear accidents in the history of nuclear energy? And people think it's some crazy high number. I'm like, it's not even hundreds.
No, in fact,
more people died on oil rigs.
Yeah.
And so it's just not dangerous. And even in those meltdowns that we've had, like the Fukushima one caused tons of physical damage. But the physical damage was from the tidal wave and stuff. But no one died. It was, or maybe just 2 people or something like that. It was not. It did not have the even environmental impact that that people think it does. Now, it doesn't excuse the fact that they should have, just spent $2 million on a higher retaining wall for the tsunami, and we would have not ever had the situation happen in the first place. But so, I mean, those are the kind of things that I think are going to make a difference. And I don't think that. So that's an exciting part of the AI stuff. But I agree, it's a good tool sometimes right now. But I think some of the talk of it, we are not there where it's stealing a lot of jobs yet or anything. I think it's enhancing some jobs, but
that's been the thing. Anytime there's like some sort of technology, what jobs are lost,
other ones show up.
Yeah.
Yes. Like we didn't lose jobs just because the carriage and horse people lost their job to the automobile. The automobile created like way more jobs. And here's the other thing. Jobs are the wrong thing to measure anyway. Productivity is what we should measure. It's not jobs. We could, I've seen it, someone wrote it, that you could have everyone in the world being ditch diggers or ditch fillers, and everyone would still be starving to death. Like everyone would have a job, but that wouldn't be an economy. They're not outputting anything. So to me, it's about output. Well, yeah, I mean, the automobile caused more economic jobs and not just jobs, but prosperity and actual production than anything else. And so, yeah, you're going to lose the horse and carriage people. And it's the same thing with steel and all these. That's why I don't like the protectionist stuff that Trump is all for, because I think it's foolish. We are manufacturing more than we ever have. It's just with fewer jobs. That should be celebrated, that it takes less man hours to make more stuff. That's a good thing.
Even more if you buy his MAGA hats here in the United States instead of China.
Well, but even then, that's competition, and I don't have a problem with that either. Like that's why I'm for free trade. I'm like, hey, yeah, let's do that. That's how
somebody
you get
running
richer
for
countries.
President should try to buy domestically.
Well, specifically because he's always complaining about things that are made in China, and his stuff is made in China is specifically ironic. My point is, I'm never going to vilify someone for buying their stuff in China if China makes the better product or the faster product or the cheaper product. Now, if they're doing it illegally, I'm not into that. But and China does a lot of shady stuff, so that's the reason I would get away from China. But you're going to have outsourcing, and just like we're going to outsource stuff to them because it's more efficient. They're going to outsource stuff to us too. Like that's why we are a top exporter, because we have a lot of stuff that the rest of the world needs. He slaps tariffs on everything. We're going to feel those exports get squeezed because we're not the only market anymore. It used to be that if you didn't sell to America, that was the big market. Well, now there's a lot of other rich countries. There's more rich countries than there were 50 years ago. So people don't have to sell to us. Like, I think that Trump's economic policies would be really bad for the very people that that are supporting him.
Yeah.
But they don't know that because
More
they just believe what he says, and most people don't have really any basic understanding of economics at all.
Yeah, no argument there. All right, man.
I gotta run too. I gotta go do gross stuff to my nose.
Yeah, awesome. All right, brother. I'll see you in a week.
Good talking to you. Yeah, I should be there.
Bring your birthday jokes.
All right, I'll bring them.
All right, buddy. So I'll see you again. All right, everybody, that's it. We've already lost 1490, of course, and we're about to leave Jurg's Radio and everything else. Thanks for joining us. I will see you again on Monday. Jane Stahl will be joining me in the first hour for Both Sides Now. And then we'll have Mirror Mirror Mondays with Mars and the rest of Up the Middle. That'll be Monday, 11 Eastern, 8 Pacific, and then into the 12 o'clock hour as well. All right, everybody, have a great weekend. You've been Up the Middle. Thanks for joining us.